Hi everyone, welcome to Again Craft. So after my rant video, I ran a little poll on my channel where I asked, what do you want to see next? What video, what subject you want me to cover next? Because this channel is not really about ranting and drama. It's mainly about me putting out videos about things I find interesting. And you asked me to make a video about dyes, inks, pigments, what is acrylic, what is this, what's the difference between, how can you use them with epoxy, and in general, just give you a little guidance on this. Now, there are several hundred videos about this on the internet and on YouTube, and I will be the 101st who's going to talk about this. So bear with me. In the last few days, every night before I went to bed, I started researching the subject, how you define this, how do you define that, how this one is made, how that one is made. And I went down the rabbit hole, guys. Like, seriously, I went down to oil refinery depth of what things are made of and why they do what they do and how they react to each other. So this video is going to define the basic terms of paints, colors, and everything like that. Because to my understanding, for me to understand what even I'm reading, I had to define the words. I had to find what it means, what acrylic means, what ink means. You know what pigment means. What is the definition? What is it anyway? So every time I read something about colorings and paints, I asked myself, okay, but what does it mean? What does it even mean? So if I have to explain it to a 5-year-old, can I do it or not? And not that you're 5-year-olds. I'm just saying that, like, if you understand something, you can explain it to a 5-year-old. That's my train of thought here. Anyway, long story short, I collected up a bunch of stuff here in front of me, and I have a little that's great, but I wrote down some definitions and stuff because I really want to. I don't want to talk out of my ass, you know me. Okay, so if I say something, I want to speak the truth, and I don't want to come up with things. You know. Anyhow, I got my water. Sorry about that. I got my water here. It's currently like 35 degrees in here, so yeah, my makeup is just started to run. I'm so sorry about that. Anyhow, let's get into this. Okay, finally. Now, acrylic, dye, ink, pigment, coloring explained. Let's start with definitions. Okay. Now, two things we have to define before we go anywhere. These things, okay, these colorings are based in something, which means that the color itself, or the compound which makes the color, it is dissolved in a carrying material. Carrying material means something which gives it volume to be applicable. Okay. Now, and it's called water-based or solvent-based. Water-based materials, pretty easy to understand. They are dissolved in water to give it volume to be able to apply it to some surface. Okay. Solvent-based, the carrier material is some sort of chemical like alcohols, mineral oils, acids, or other chemical compounds like acetone or silicone or whatever, you know. Okay, so that is called solvent based. Those are different chemical compounds, water based and solvent based. Now, the next word we have to define is pigment. What is a pigment? A pigment is a substance that gives color to other materials. It could be organic or inorganic. Inorganic. So basically when you crush cherries in your hand and you smear it all over your face and the whole thing turns red, that is an organic pigment. Okay? But when you have mica powder, this is literally stone. Sorry, I'm looking at myself in the camera and not you. That happens. I'm not professional. Okay, so mica powder is basically stone with pigments in it. That's why you get the sparkle shiny. The sparkle shiny part is the stone part of it, and the color is added to that stone part. But yeah, it can be other chemicals like like wine. Okay, that's organic, but sulfur, for example. Okay, that's like crystal. Anyway, just that could be a liquid. You can turn it into a liquid. All I'm saying is it could be from live things or unalive things, and food dyes are usually organic. Okay, so all the paints have pigments in them. So every paint has some sort of pigment. Pigment, is the coloring. Now let's start from the top. Acrylic paints. Okay, acrylic. What is acrylic? Now, acrylic is called acrylic acid in its legal name, and let me just read this up for you quick. They are synthetic combination of artificial plastics. Okay, so you can call these liquid plastic, and when the carrier material, the solvent, disappears, it turns into plastic. And acrylic acid is a chemical. It's a combination of artificially combined chemicals from oil refinery and all these factory processes. All you need to know, it is literally some sort of liquid plastic. When you get rid of the solvent of it, it will become a artificial material, a plastic material. Can be water or solvent based. So acrylic paints can be carried in so you can have acrylic paints mixed in water for students, children, for the arts and crafts lessons, or wall painting, for example. You can have furniture paints, acrylic paints solved in water, or you can have them in cans solved in acetone or acetate or some sort of acid, or methylated alcohol, or some kind of an alcohol, whatever, in solvent or water. Point is, it's plastic. When the solvent evaporates, disappears, it becomes a plastic. Now, they play well with epoxy because they are similar and they don't react to each other's chemical composition, which means that we have epoxy, right? So epoxy, I got a mosquito bite on my ankle. I'm sorry about that. So epoxy is basically some sort of plastic, liquid plastic, and you give the hardener to it, and little plastics swimming in that solvent, they come in reaction with the hardener, and this hardener, it gets between these little plastic molecules and creates a chain, and it creates a chain link, flat, yeah, like a link, and it creates a web of these plastic molecules, and they get together and they harden. Now, acrylic doesn't bother this reaction. The solvent of the acrylic can bother this reaction, but usually acrylics are not dissolved in such a solvent that will interfere with this. However, if you're using acrylic in your epoxy work, you have to make sure that you don't put so much acrylic in it that it will imbalance the hardener and the epoxy balance. So like, can I give you an example? Like when you have like 1 unit of measurement of epoxy and you have a half unit of measurement of hardener, and you put another half unit of measurement of pigment or acrylic in it, that will mess up the composition. Okay, there will be too much acrylic for the hardener to climb through to get to the epoxies to create the chains, if you know what I mean. So if you use a little bit, let's say a teaspoon, okay, I use a teaspoon in about a half a kilo. Oh no, more. I use a teaspoon of this everyday artsy painty. This is literally just art paint. Half a teaspoon or a teaspoon in a kilo tints it beautifully. I actually made like a whole 20 kilo coffee table just with a teaspoon of this. So all I'm saying, watch out for that. So that's about it for the acrylic paints. If you have any questions of anything, okay, drop it in the comment section. I'll try to research it for you. I'll try to find a solution for you or an answer if you couldn't find it. And I encourage you to go down to the comment section and have a look through the comments. And if you have an answer for something that somebody else asked, please contribute. Let's be a community. Let's build something here, and let's educate each other. So if you know something somebody else doesn't, help them out. If you don't know something, ask. Somebody will come and help you out. I'm not the smartest guru in the entire world. I don't know everything. I Google shit all the time. I'll figure it out myself. So I might not be able to help you, but somebody else might be. Or you might be able to help somebody else. You know, we are a gang here. We hang out, we help out. Ooh, that was smooth. It wasn't planned anyway. Focus. Next thing is dye. What is dye? What is a dye? What is the dye? Dye is natural or let me start that again. So dye is a natural or synthetic substance used to add color to or change color. I wrote this myself. Actually, I Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V it. So a natural or synthetic substance used to add a color to or change the color of something. Okay, so basically you add color to something or change the color of something with these natural or synthetic substance, and that is a dye. Okay, so basically pigment in some sort of solvent to change the color of something or add color to something. Okay, so, and that is a dye. Now, it is very simple to understand. We have dyes which are food dyes. This is water-based, organic pigments, and they're used to change the color of a cake or add color to some kind of clear thing, you know, which doesn't have a color. So that is an organic dye. What is the difference between acrylic and dye? Acrylic is a plastic paint. You add this onto some surface and you don't change the color of the surface. This will stay on the top of the surface. This will change the color of the surface. That's simple, really. So this is water-based dye, organic. And let me just show you an example. This piece of wood, okay, I torched it and I used this on it with a little sponge. I put it on. This was put on about a year ago, and I'm running a test when it starts to fade or something. So yeah, so this is how you change the color of something with organic water-based dye. Now, inorganic dyes, same thing. We have the pigment, a synthetic dye. We have the pigment in which is artificially made color. Guys, I'm not into that. I factories, you know, in the big smoky chimney things, they make these colors. And this is a epoxy dye, okay? And this is a brown. There you go. Focus, you moron. Can you please focus? Anyway, you can imagine. So basically, this is the alcohol dye you put in epoxy. Okay. This is made of. Actually, I have the list of materials in this. This is literally what you can buy. It is literally called epoxy resin dye. Now, it's made of benzyl alcohol, probably some sort of alcohol, artificial alcohol, water, and pigments. That's simple. It has water, pigments, and alcohol in it. And this is artificial because this is synthetic color. Okay, so that is a dye. And we use this to change the color of epoxy. Now, these play well with epoxy resin. I would make sure that I don't put too much water. As I previously explained, the volume, all that matters, the volume. I put it in epoxy and it doesn't fit. Only thing the organic food dye reacts to is heat. Heat makes the color disappear. I don't know why, but it just, when I put this on a piece of wood and I hit it with a heat gun, it just whoosh disappears. It's like invisible ink. Don't know why. It's just something to know. So these are the dyes. Let me drink a sip of water. Okay, now let's carry on. Ink. What? Because we interchange this often, and I realized in the comment section of my previous video that I interchanged these two words, and these are not the same. Because I created a confusion between my viewers in my rant video, because I said something was ink, and they said that ink doesn't work. Ink works and ink doesn't work. So there was this little confusion in the comment section. So I went in, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. So here it is. Traditionally, ink was substitutable with dye. So back in the day, let's say 2,000 years ago, Japanese era, dye and ink was basically the same thing, because it was the same organic or inorganic material in paste or liquid form to use for painting or coloring, etc. So basically every ink was a dye, and every dye was an ink back in the day. Okay? Before the Industrial Revolution, I guess. But today, inks are complicated chemical compounds consisting of alcohols, lubricants, carbons, pigments, dyes, a chemical from raw crude oil, another chemical from crude oil, glycerin, fluorescents, and other materials. So basically, this ink right here in my hand is a Pelican ink and is literally for pens. Okay. Now this is artificial ink. This is not natural ink. This is a product of the oil companies, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. Okay, I'm using epoxy for heaven's sake. All I'm saying is this is a complicated chemical compound consisting of so many things. Sorry, I'm just checking if anything has anything on it. No, of course it doesn't. Anyhow, so it consists of so many chemical compounds and connections that when you pour this into epoxy, it basically falls apart into its building blocks. So this black liquid from this jar turns into a thick greenish color and then disappears, because imagine this as a very very delicate chain, okay? And you put this very delicate chain into, I don't know, some sort of acid that dissolves that chain. That was a stupid. And you get the idea. So basically, it falls apart into its building blocks. Therefore, inks don't play well with epoxy, and inks are not dyes anymore. If you can get your hand on traditionally made ink, please don't use it for epoxy, because that probably costs about hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of dollars. But all I'm saying is, if you have real ink, which is just color and the carrying material, you have dye. Simple as that. So that is basically the difference between inks and dyes. And in my rant video, I said this is alcohol ink, because in my original language, we interchange these two words in everyday speak. And when I never knew that these two things are different. Of course, I never needed to know. But I always wondered why they act differently if they are the same material. Why this one disappears and leaves an ugly mess, and why this one stays. This is why. Okay. Let me just check my notes very quick. So yeah, basically these things never work with epoxy, because the hardener in the epoxy rips it apart to its building blocks. Same thing with leather dyes. But god damn, like look at this color. Amazing green color, my favorite green ever. And I cannot use this in my workflow, because this is also a very complicated chemical compound diluted in ethyl alcohol, which is some sort of an alcohol, artificially made alcohol. Point is, when I put this in epoxy, it turns into a gray scum. Literally. So, only thing I can use these guys for is to color wood. And the funny thing with this, when I use inks or leather dyes to color wood, why it looks faded, because I deliberately sanded it to give it an older look. But when I use this, it doesn't dissolve when I hit it with heat. So yeah, this is what I'm basically using this for. So lucky me, I guess. So yeah, staining, tinting, coloring wood, it's good. Epoxy, it's a no-no. I mean, you can give it a go, experiment. You might find it works, but in that case, you only have pigments and carrier material, and you don't have the chemical composition. So it's not like, so the color is not created with a composition of different chemicals. It's created with using a colorant pigment. Yeah, that's it. Now I managed to explain it after 10 minutes of rambling about everything. So, and these are the main definitions we need to know. Sorry, I'm looking at myself. I'm not looking at the camera. I need to work on that. I need to look at the camera. I don't need to look at myself. Sorry. Anyhow, so when we have this liquid dye, when we have this epoxy dyes, this is also just some coloring dissolved in some sort of an alcoholic spirit. Then you have pigment paste, is also some sort of a pigment, some sort of something to give you the colors, and it's thinned up with, this one specifically is thinned up with an alcohol, an artificial alcohol. And yeah, that's basically that. So what did we learn today? So in summary, you can play with anything you want in in your epoxy adventure, but you need to make sure that you are using some sort of pigment, some sort of material which gives the color, and you are using something as a carrier material, water, solvent, whatever, but you are not using artificially made colors which made with combining many different chemicals and that resulting in a color, because that could fall apart due to the chemical reaction between the epoxy and the hardener. I really hope that this clarified up the basics and clarified up some information on acrylics, dyes, inks, and in other colorations, and how to use it in epoxy or how to use it in woodworking or in art, or in your thing. Um, this video was requested by many of you, and I really hope I gave you some value with this. I also have a buy me a coffee link in the description or in the comment section or somewhere. If you think you wanna give something in exchange, I'm really bad at this, guys. I am really bad at this, like plugging my own stuff. I'm really bad at accepting anything, so bear with me here. So I have this buy me a coffee thing. If you want to drop me a fiver or a tenner, or help me out with the materials, epoxy, or paying the bills, or buying food for the pups or whatever, go on that link, throw whatever you want. I would greatly appreciate it because every little helps. But I will keep making all these videos even if you don't do it. If you can't afford it, or if you don't fancy spending the money, you could leave a comment, share this video, or just subscribe, give it a like. This also helps my channel to get some recognition. And I'm a small YouTuber, and I like to make stuff, and I think art is for everyone. And that is why I'm here, to share art with everyone. Okay, thanks very much for watching. Hope you got something out of this video. See you guys in the next one. Bye.